not just women are in danger, but all marginalized people, where being uniquely different right now might truly be considered a crime. It seems as though we had all slipped into a false sense of comfort, that justice would prevail and that good would win in the end. Well, good did not win this election, but good will win in the end. So what today means is that we are far from the end. Today marks the beginning of our story. The revolution starts here. The fight for the right to be free, to be who we are, to be equal. Let's march together through this darkness, and with each step, know that we are not afraid. That we are not alone. That we will not back down. That there is power in our unity, and that no opposing force stands a chance in the face of true solidarity. And to our detractors that insist that this march will never add up to anything,
Boston Red here with Friday Java, a weekly magazine of political theory, polling, and commentary. It is part of the history called people that make up this fascinating journey. We are part of the Obama network. For that, we make no apologies. What we pledge to do is give you the facts on a bridge to history. What body politics is, the most up-to-date theories of political science and psephology. Stay tuned for this incredible ride. Boston Red, peace out. From WBRN Radio and on the Boston Red Network. Friday Jobber on the 28th of June, 2019. We have the people from the University of Virginia, Larry Sabato's Shop, the Crystal Ball here, and the perpetrator that murdered in a brutal manner Hebermeyer has been given life in prison by a federal judge. And it's interesting there because there is some similarity between his defense team asking for leniency when there was no avenue there. This character had not given any indication of any type of contrivance there or any type of empathy with Hebermeyer or the other people that he injured on that day. This is an issue that came up in the Justine Ruchek Demond case out in the Midwest state of Minnesota, that some people literally had the audacity to ask for leniency for this killer that acted under what is termed color of law. Different situation there. But the same kind of conclusion came out there. And we'll get to a little bit more of that. Let me quickly get to let me see here. Get down our setup here and make certain that we have it, and this is not exactly what we want here. Nonetheless, from last night, there was a exchange between Kamala Harris and the Vice President Biden. What had happened there was an interesting situation right out of a Norman Rockwell painting. If you recall, Norman Rockwell was a folksy type painter that painted many scenes of America. And it could have been one of his paintings, a young girl walking to a bus in the early 70s. And in the case of Kamala Harris, she was walking to a bus to take her to Berkeley, of all places. That was the beginning of the desegregation process 20 years after Brown. Brown versus Topeka was a case that started it all. The Supreme Court at the time, under Justice Warren, he was a former Attorney General of California, just as Kamala Harris is. But nonetheless, it took 20 years, and it was a very heated situation. And what Biden tried to do, and we'll get to Jesse Jackson, he was at Push, trying to curry favor. But the unfortunate situation there was busing, and I remember it very vividly. We were at the NAACP, and there was a book came out. I mean, it was yellow in color. Anyway, basically the title was, it's not the buses, but the end. Now, at that time, we did use the term nigger, but now we use the N-word. But the idea was what it was all about. And Biden said, well, it was up to her local school board. That would be a states' rights position. Biden knows better than that. And that was a telling moment. He was talking about defending his record on civil rights. Well, the record on civil rights is blighted not only by that, but talking about how he worked with Eastland and Thurman. Yes, people did have to work with Eastland and with Thurman. Thurman had an African-American daughter, Ms. Washington, who Thurman is dead, incidentally, and so is Ms. Washington, the daughter. She lived to be in her 80s. But that's not the issue there. The issue is where Biden is and his perspective. The Biden team, should have seen that coming, and it did, in fact, come. In fact, Harris's people had some T-shirts made up of a 5-year-old girl. Now, that is symbolic. The commercial media, we have a program, the NBC debate, that is a commercial type of debate. If you notice the commercial networks, and we'll get to that in a minute, how they classified people who won, who didn't, was in the first debate, was it Elizabeth Warren's night? Well, yes, Elizabeth Warren had the positions, but there were 9 other people on the stage. And this is early in the debate cycle, no doubt about that. And then when we went to day 2, we had Bernie and Biden there. A lot of the oxygen there in that, but a little different type of debate. But if some of the other people were going to shine, Kamala Harris had to come up to shine. That was basically where they were in this whole situation. But to bring Norman Rockwell in is itself very interesting. One of the things to be very careful, I'm not a Biden supporter, we support Bernie. But the situation is the 70s was a different time, no doubt about it. Busing was a rally cry in Boston. We had Judge Garrity, and of course in South Boston, a mob of racists led by the late Louise Day Hicks. And she stayed around for a long time. Now, this would be the beginning of the Tea Party type movement, right-wing movements in South Boston, and the kinds of people that now vote for DJ Trump. Nothing has changed there. So as far as Eastland and Thurman are concerned, the situation even has changed there. Eastland, not Eastland, but Thurman worked with some of the legislation that would have been termed progressive at the time. He also presided, incidentally, over the impeachment of William Jefferson Clinton, one of his little handiworks there. He stayed around almost to 100. I think he was about 99 or so when he finally left the world. But that in itself is not an unusual situation. Let me just get to the right. Okay. We'll go to Charlottesville here with the neo-Nazi. Make sure we get him right here. It says a federal judge was the killing of Heber. And we always remember Heber every time. This guy's name was James Field. He was from Mummy, Ohio, 22 years old, sentenced to life in prison without parole. He had sought a lenient sentence after apologizing for plowing his car into a crowd. This was the famous moment where DJ Trump compared the neo-Nazis and terrorists to ordinary people. The judge in the case, Michael Urbanski, was unmoved by his plea, saying he had to avail his eyes while the court viewed a graphic video of the attack that showed bodies all over the place, basically. This is from Reuters. Just watching them is terrifying, Urbanski said the release of the defendant in a free society is too great of a risk. The rally provided a critical moment. This was a DJ Trump situation there around nationalism, and you still have that going even today. So where he called fine people, this is quoting DJ Trump, on both sides of the dispute. I doubt that very seriously. The mother of Heber, Susan Bowe, said that she hoped her daughter would be remembered as a regular person who stood up for her beliefs. The point of Heber's death is not that she was a saint, and Lord, my child was never a saint, but I'm an ordinary person, can do simple acts. And that made all the difference in the world. That's what Ms. Bowe said there. And ahead of the sentencing, let me just get down here. The prosecutors noted that Fields had longly espoused violence. Less than a month before the attack, he posted an image on Instagram showing a car plowing into a crowd of people. You have the right to protest, but I am late for work, so he said. And there's been various people promoting that type of thing, running down demonstrators. And he went on to say she's a communist, she's anti-white liberal. Fields said, according to court papers filed by the prosecutors, he rejected his mother's plea to consider the woman had lost her daughter and replied she was the enemy. Well, you have to understand the mentality of these people, the Nazis, white supremacists, etc. Their mentality is the person is their enemy, and the oppressed is their enemy. It is the enemy of the people. And this is where their mindset is. And somewhere along the way, they do as many violent acts as can be imagined, whether it be posting on social media their quote-unquote right to run over innocent people and kill them, or just simply killing innocent people, or not baking a cake for an LGBT person, or various things, not renting to them, interfering with their business, not providing access that other people have within various business arrangements. These are all the kinds of things that violence, economic violence, it all goes hand in hand with these people, because they see their opponents not only as enemies, but as a subhuman people. According to one book written, The Mud People, they call it, that was a Turner Diaries. Well, this young man was so hate-filled that he just simply could only see one position there. This is from Reuters, the FBI most recent report on hate crimes that was released in November. showed a 17% rise in 2017, 2 years ago. Hate-filled violence based on white supremacy and racism is an effort to our country. That was from the prosecutor, Dabran, the assistant prosecutor of the Office of the Civil Rights Division in the Justice Department. Our government uses its immense power and the resolve to identify the perpetrator of these crimes and prosecute them. Well, it's about time that they start to prosecute these types of crimes. Let me do a little more roundup here with the Supreme Court. It refused to hear, or did not hear, an appeal from Alabama on one of the most restrictive laws that Alabama has. They have since, the state of Alabama, that was to revive a Republican-backed law that effectively banned the procedure after 15 weeks of pregnancy. That's in the state of Alabama. But the governor has even signed a more restrictive one. The law in question is different than even the more restrictive measure. This is from the state of Alabama. The Justice Thomas writing an opinion agreeing with the court's decision not to hear the issue, but clear that he would uphold such laws. Uncle Clarence is always busy. While we are pleased to see the end of this particular case, we know that it is nowhere near the end of efforts to undermine access to abortion. That is from Andrew Beck. He's a lawyer with the American Civil Liberties Union. Politicians are lining up to do just what Alabama asked the court to review and that push abortion out of reach and harm women. The lower court found that Alabama's law was in infringement on a woman's constitutional right to abortion and recognized in Roe v. Wade. And the method targeting the Alabama law is called D&E. A woman's pelvis is diluted and the content of the uterus removed. Anyway, it was a 5-4 conservative majority there, and following the retirement, this is of Justice Kennedy there, and Kavanaugh replaced him. In February, they blocked an Alabama law and putting a very strict abortion. We can expect that to continue along. Let me just move here. The court will hear next year a number of cases coming up on DECA. That's the Deferred Action of Childhood Arrivals. That was implemented in 2012 by the then President Barack Obama. So they agreed, to decide whether the DJ Trump acted lawfully when he moved to end the program that protects the people from deportation. I've seen several figures on it. Reuters has it 700,000. I've seen 600,000. Anyway, most of these young people are Latinos there. And the conservative majority court will hear the arguments, issue a ruling in its next term. That starts in October and runs until June of 2020. That would be a election year. Now let's move on a little bit more here. And, okay, oops. Oh, this is not where I want to go. Okay, we'll go to the people at the University of Virginia. This is 2 debates, 20 candidates, in 26 hours is the title. Professor Sabato and Kyle Klondike are the authors. On the 28th of June, 2019. And the key points here, we'll move through this rather quickly. do not necessarily assume that this first debate would dramatically reshape the Democratic primary race. The biggest moment from either night was almost certainly Kamala Harris' attack on Joe Biden. The leftward shift of many Democrats will be heartening to the president as he tries to turn into a referendum election into a choice election, referendum of choice. 2020, the opening debate there, the 20 hopefuls. We are now in what we feel is a disorienting part of a 4-year presidential cycle featuring an incumbent, even though any president is essentially, the center of the American universe. And particularly in this individualistic, narcissistic type of president who insists on dominating the news via Twitter, my words, not theirs. Other than the State of the Union, the regular schedule for big primetime political events of the next year, the debates and the caucuses and the primary results. He has a clear path to renomination. On the other hand, Trump, like Barack Obama, is at the same point in the political calendar. 8 years ago, has to share the spotlight with many competitors, no doubt about that. But what he has done is that other presidents have not done. President Obama had a Twitter presence, but it was from the White House, whereas Trump has kept his private Twitter account out there. The Medicare for All plans will feature in. The Democratic candidates, more or less, have endorsed it as a public option there. 3 leading candidates, this is Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Bernie Sanders. Now, this is very interesting. Bernie Sanders is a leading candidate. And you can see now, this is a middle-of-the-road kind of thing here at the crystal ball. The next election may be similar to the last couple of elections featuring incumbents. That was in 2014, 2012. G.W. Bush was there, Barack Obama. Well, not exactly the same type. DJ Trump is a choice. And to Thursday night, we don't have to talk about, and Michael Bennett chimed in, compromise with Mitch McConnell to preserve the tax cuts. Then they go to Kamala Harris. They mention her next. And this is kind of unusual here. She had a Norman Rockwell moment, no doubt about that, but that was about it. And then Bernie Sanders, they just describe him as being Bernie. And next came Kristen Gillibrand. I'm surprised they had her in there. And then old Mia Pete there. Well, Mia Pete has got some problems. What the media did was they favored Mia Pete, a more conservative, more middle-of-the-road candidate than Beto O'Rourke. They had planned to promote Beto O'Rourke, and then the next was Michael Bennett. I won't even go into that. Steve Bullock and Andrew Yang, and anyway. Wednesday night it was Elizabeth Warren, and then the second they have here is Cory Booker. Warren has emerged as one of the front runners, no doubt about that. Booker can't get going. Maybe Booker can get going following the first debate when he's got more speaking time. He had about 10 minutes, and then next comes Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar, the Midwesterner here, needs, according to them, for Biden to fall apart, and she can just take his place. And then Julian Castro, a mention of the monopoly media, tried to put him ahead of Beto O'Rourke as a Texas type. Then Tulsi Gilbert, out of Hawaii, the one of the left candidates here. Inslee, the environmental candidate, but that's low on the list. And then Bill de Blasio. Well, Bill de Blasio is me of New York, no doubt about that. Period. He's kind of in a debate there. The man is, 6'7", so he definitely stands out. And nonetheless, that is what we were able to get there. Let me just Do a little bit of sport here. Megan Rapinoe, I think that's how she pronounced her name, Rapinoe, was able to defeat Spain. Now they're in the 2 goals ending of they already defeated Spain, ending of France's hopes there of a men and women cup double. The grand match was slightly more measured from FIFA Van Raton. Oh boy, hopes of a total. But either way, this meeting, I have to kind of clean this up a little bit here, between the holders and hosts did not disappear. No player has been directly involved in more goals than Rapinoe, I suppose it's R-A-P. Anyway, since she made her debut in 2011, she famously said she will not be going to the White House to deal with DJ Trump, a period there. There were 30,000 French fans in the audience at La Marseille, okay. And 14 million French viewers there. So she had a very large audience to deal with. And nice picture of her kicking. Here she's defending. Anyway, with every pass, throw, and touch, excuse me, every string gusto and chance of USA, the French were more ascendancy for much of the half, forcing Etrans to shot backwards to form a back 5. Anyway, this is more description of the game. With 9 minutes left, France finally got a breakthrough there, but it was a breakthrough too late. So nonetheless, Team USA is moving to the semifinals with England. Very interesting situation there with England. Team USA 2-1 over France. All right, let me fly along here a little bit, and I guess we'll wind this down with Nate Silver's shop. This is Julia Wolf and Aaron by Coffee. The best measurement we normally have for Who Won the Debate is the polling that simply asks the question, who do you think won? Partnering with the Morning Consult, that is the one from Politico. Of all 20 candidates, Kamala Harris, according to them, Elizabeth Warren and Julian Castro earned the highest scores for their debate performance relative to their favorability ratings before they took the stage. According to voters in our poll, Bernie Sanders and Cory Booker also, I suppose for them, honorable mention. Very strange situation. Voters changing minds and various other things happening there. Favorable ratings here before and after the contest. We won't go into much of that. We will, I think, get some polling here as I'm running out of time, and we'll have, I guess, this on the week that was, and getting into some things here anyway. We'll get into more of the polling here. They have old DJ Trump on the 28th at 42.3 is where he is standing in the scheme of things. So, nonetheless, we'll just jump back there. And let's get real clear politics very, very quickly here. At least we'll attempt to do it. Not sure. I didn't have it queued up. We would normally have it queued up. But we don't have it queued up now. And we'll get to this on the week that was. That's tomorrow night on WBRN and the Boston Red Network. Incidentally, we are now on Google Podcasts. Of course, that's along with iHeartRadio and various others. Twitter, we want to get the Twitter feed up there and more over there. Stitcher, Spreaker, the whole lot there. Spotify has been a very a good location for us. So as the world of internet radio is more of a breakout type of situation here, and we're seeing more and more of it. And we'll have a broadcast sometime in July, I guess, as it sets up now, where we'll look at some of the breakout happening in the world of internet radio. Let me just get to the latest polls here, and hopefully we'll get to the latest polls. Incidentally, there's the G Summit going on in Osaka, Japan, between various people. President Xi is there, and DJ Trump is there, and a cast of, we won't say thousands, but a cast of many that are also there. And we'll have numbers, man. That is our economics program from GBN, BRN. I'll get it right in a minute here. Anyway, here's a Republican. This is in the state of Maine, gratis. Excuse me, Biden is at 25, Elizabeth Warren at 17, Bernie at 15, and then it goes downhill there. Buttigieg at 8. And let's see who else is. Cory Booker at 3 in this particular situation. And Beto O'Rourke is at 1. I don't see a... well, anyway. And some approvals here. He's at 49. That's DJ Trump. And Wednesday, let's see what we had here. Biden is at 25. This is YouGov. And Bernie is at 15. Elizabeth Warren is at 19. It's interesting. Some of these polls, actually, Elizabeth Warren is ahead of Bernie. And Harris is at 7. Booker is at 1. I didn't have anything for... I didn't have anything there for Amy Klobuchar. Not sure about those polls anyway. The approval ratings are all over the place here. The Morning Consult has DJ Trump at 43. Reuters Ipsos at 41. And YouGov at 44. So we'll say, I'm not sure his average right there. And if we look at generic ballot, that's narrowing also. The Morning Consult has Democrats ahead by 6, YouGov at a +6. So that is, this was on a Wednesday. Not a lot going on here. On Tuesday, this is Emerson out of Boston. They have a national poll. Biden at 34, Bernie at 27, moving up there. And Elizabeth Warren at 14. Now, this is a Boston poll that ran across from the Common. Harris at 7. O'Rourke at 1. Buttigieg at 6. And Amy Klobuchar at 1. Now, we get matchups here between Trump and Biden. Biden at 10. Elizabeth Warren at 10. At 6. And Bernie Sanders at 10. Harris at 4, and same thing with Buttigieg. Anyway, that is, will do it for us. Boston Red in the Jerry Pippin broadcast booth on the 28th of June, 2019. See you on the week that was. Good day.